For 15 years, Leo Grayson had stood behind the same oak bar, in the same dimly lit corner of the same city, serving the same drinks to the same faces. He was 43 years old now, though he felt 53 most nights. His hands moved automatically, polishing a glass, reaching for a bottle, sliding a napkin across the worn wood, while his mind drifted somewhere far away. The bar was called The Last Stop, a fitting name for a place where people came to disappear for a few hours before returning to lives they barely tolerated. Leo knew them all: the divorced accountant who drank scotch and never spoke, the young woman who nursed a single beer while waiting for someone who never arrived, the old man who fell asleep at the corner table every Friday at exactly 10 o'clock. They were ghosts, and so was Leo. He had started this job at 28, after his marriage ended and his plans fell apart. The bar became his anchor, his routine, his identity. He knew the squeak of the front door, the exact temperature of the basement, the way the light hit the bottles at sunset. What he did not know, what he could never have predicted, was that a stranger would walk in one Thursday night and change everything. The man was unremarkable at first glance. Mid-40s, average height, tired eyes. He wore a worn jacket and kept his hands in his pockets. He sat on stool number 17, the one closest to the emergency exit, and ordered a double whiskey. Neat. He paid with crumpled bills and said nothing. Leo thought nothing of it. People came in all the time, nursing silences like wounds. But the man returned the next Thursday. And the next. And the next. 3 months passed, and the man on stool 17 never spoke a single word. He simply sat, drank, paid, and left. Until the night the television changed everything. It was a Thursday in late October when the news broke. Leo was polishing glasses behind the bar, half watching the muted television mounted on the wall above the liquor shelves. The local evening news was on, the usual stream of house fires and city council meetings. Then the anchor's face shifted into something more serious, and a photograph appeared on the screen. Leo's hand stopped mid-motion. It was him. The man from stool 17. The same tired eyes, the same hollow cheeks, the same unremarkable face that had sat 3 feet away from Leo just hours earlier. Below the photograph, bold letters spelled out a warning: wanted for kidnapping. Considered armed and dangerous. Leo set the glass down slowly, his heart beginning to drum against his ribs. He looked toward the empty stool. The man had left 30 minutes ago, as silently as he always did. Leo glanced back at the television. The newscaster was speaking, her lips moving urgently, but the bar was too loud for him to hear. He reached for the remote and turned up the volume. Authorities urge anyone with information to come forward. The suspect, identified as Marcus Webb, is believed to be in the area and should not be approached. Webb is wanted in connection with the abduction of his 7-year-old daughter, Claire, who was last seen with him 3 months ago. The child's mother, Elena Webb, has made a public plea for her safe return. Leo felt the air leave his lungs. A child. The man had taken a child. He replayed every Thursday night in his mind, the man's quiet demeanor, his gentle way of holding the glass, the way he never caused trouble. Was this the face of a monster? Leo didn't know what to think. He turned away from the television and reached for the tip jar, his hand shaking slightly. That was when he saw it. A small piece of paper, folded once, resting among the dollar bills. He unfolded it slowly. A phone number. Written in careful, deliberate handwriting. No name. No message. Just 10 digits that burned into his brain. Leo stared at the number for a long time. The bar hummed around him, oblivious to the weight of that small piece of paper. He could have thrown it away. He should have thrown it away. Call the police, he thought. That's what a normal person would do. That's what the law demanded. But something held him back. He looked at the stool again, imagining the man sitting there, alone, week after week, saying nothing. Why had he chosen this bar? Why had he sat in the same spot, ordered the same drink, paid with the same crumpled bills? And why, after 3 months of silence, had he left a number? Leo's shift ended at 2 in the morning. He walked home through empty streets, the paper burning a hole in his pocket. His apartment was small and sparsely furnished, a place to sleep rather than live. He sat on the edge of his bed, the phone in his hand, the number on the nightstand. He told himself he would call in the morning. Report it anonymously. Let the authorities handle it. But sleep didn't come. At 4 in the morning, he picked up the phone and dialed. It rang 3 times. Then a voice answered. Not the man's voice. A woman's. Young. Scared. Hello? Leo almost hung up. Who is this? The voice asked. He swallowed hard. I'm looking for Marcus Webb. A pause. Then, he said you might call. He said you were the only one who ever looked at him like a person. Leo's grip tightened on the phone. Where is he? He's gone. He left this phone for me. He said to tell you he needs a favor. A big one. Leo closed his eyes. What kind of favor? He wants you to deliver something. To his daughter. The word hit him like a punch. His daughter? The one he kidnapped? The woman on the other end was silent for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice cracking. He didn't kidnap her. He saved her. The words hung in the air, impossible and heavy. Leo pressed the phone harder against his ear. What do you mean, he saved her? The young woman on the other end took a shaky breath. My name is Megan. I'm his sister. His little sister. And I'm the only one who knows the truth. Leo stood up from the bed, pacing the small room. The news says he took his daughter. The mother says he abducted her. The mother is lying. Megan's voice was fierce now, desperate. Elena is not who she seems. Marcus didn't take Claire to hurt her. He took her to protect her. Leo stopped pacing. Protect her from what? There was a long pause. When Megan spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. From Elena's boyfriend. From what he was doing to Claire when Marcus wasn't home. Marcus found out. He found videos, Leo. Videos on the boyfriend's phone. He went to the police, but Elena denied everything. She said Claire was lying. She said Marcus was crazy. And the boyfriend, he has money. Connections. The case went nowhere. So Marcus did the only thing he could. He took Claire and ran. Leo sank back onto the bed. His mind was spinning. He thought of the man on stool 17, sitting alone in the dark, drinking his whiskey in silence. A monster or a father? A kidnapper or a protector? Why me? Leo asked finally. Why did he leave my number? Megan's voice softened. He said you were the only one who ever looked at him. Really looked. Not like a customer, not like a stranger. Like a person. He said in 15 years of running, that was the first time anyone saw him. Leo closed his eyes. The weight of those words settled over him. He was just a bartender. He poured drinks and wiped counters. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a fighter. But somewhere in the quiet of that Thursday night, a man had trusted him with everything. The next morning, Leo went to work as usual. The bar looked the same, smelled the same, sounded the same. But everything had changed. He moved through his shift mechanically, filling orders, nodding at regulars, all while the phone number burned in his memory. He kept glancing at stool 17. Empty now. Would it ever be filled again? At midnight, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just an address. And a time, 3 a.m. Leo stared at the screen. He could ignore it. He could block the number and forget any of this happened. But he thought of the man's tired eyes. He thought of a 7-year-old girl named Claire. At 2:45, he told his boss he felt sick and left early. The address led him to an all-night diner on the edge of the city, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and the coffee was always stale. He sat in a booth near the back and waited. At exactly 3 a.m., Megan walked in. She was younger than he expected, maybe 25, with the same tired eyes as her brother. She carried a small backpack and sat across from him without a word. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then she unzipped the backpack and slid a package across the table. It was wrapped in brown paper, the size of a shoebox, sealed with tape. "He wants you to give this to Claire," Megan said. "When?" Leo asked. "When she's safe. When this is over. He said you'll know when the time is right." Leo looked at the package. It felt light in his hands. "What's inside?" Megan shook her head. "I don't know. He never told me. He said it was for her eyes only." Leo slid the package into his own bag. "Where is he now?" Megan's eyes dropped. "I don't know. He said it was better that way. If I don't know, I can't tell." She reached across the table and touched his hand. "He's trusting you with everything, Leo. Don't make him regret it." Leo didn't sleep that night. He sat in his apartment, the package on the coffee table in front of him, staring at it like it might explode. He thought about opening it. The tape was right there. One quick cut and he would know. But something stopped him. A promise he hadn't even made out loud. Over the next 2 weeks, life went on. Leo worked his shifts, poured his drinks, wiped his counters. The news coverage of Marcus Webb faded. New stories took its place. New crimes, new fears, new faces. But Leo couldn't forget. He watched the mother, Elena Webb, give interviews on television. She was polished, well-dressed, her voice trembling in all the right places. She spoke of her missing daughter with tears in her eyes. She begged Marcus to bring Claire home. She was convincing. Most people believed her. Leo wasn't most people. He started digging. Late at night, after his shifts, he sat in front of his computer and searched. Old news articles, social media profiles, court records. He found Elena's boyfriend, a man named Richard Vance. Wealthy. Connected. No criminal record. But Leo found something else. A blog, long abandoned, written by Elena years ago. In it, she talked about her temper, her need for control, her fear that she would become her own mother. The posts were rambling, almost manic. Then they stopped. Leo kept digging. He found a restraining order filed against Richard Vance 5 years ago by a different woman. It had been dropped. He found a mention of Vance in a police report from a domestic disturbance call that went nowhere. Nothing concrete. Nothing that would hold up in court. But enough to make Leo believe. Enough to make him understand why a father would run. 3 months passed. Winter settled over the city, cold and gray. The package remained under Leo's bed, untouched. He thought about it every day. He wondered where Marcus was. He wondered about Claire. Was she safe? Was she warm? Did she know her father had trusted a stranger with something precious? Then, on a freezing Tuesday night, Megan called again. Her voice was different this time. Calmer. They're safe, she said. Both of them. Marcus found a way out of the country. He's somewhere far, somewhere Elena can't reach him. Leo let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. And Claire? She's with him. She's okay. She's actually happy, Leo. For the first time in years. Leo leaned against the wall, relief washing over him. So it's over? Megan paused. Not quite. Marcus wants you to know something. He's coming back. Leo straightened. Coming back? Why? Because he's tired of running. He's going to turn himself in. But he wants to face trial. He wants to tell his side in court. He wants Claire to have a real life, not a life on the run. Leo's heart pounded. That's insane. He'll go to prison. Maybe. But he says he'd rather spend 10 years in prison knowing Claire is safe than spend 20 years running and always looking over his shoulder. Leo was silent for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had been haunting him. What about the package? Megan's voice softened. He said to give it to her now. Before the trial. He said she'll need it. Leo arranged to meet Megan at the same diner. This time, she brought Claire. The little girl was 7 years old, small for her age, with her father's tired eyes and her mother's dark hair. She sat quietly in the booth, clutching a stuffed rabbit, watching Leo with cautious curiosity. Megan introduced them. Claire, this is Leo. He's a friend of your dad's. Claire tilted her head. Daddy told me about you. He said you were nice. Leo felt his throat tighten. Your dad is very brave, he said. Claire nodded. He saved me. Leo reached into his bag and pulled out the package. It felt heavier now, weighted with meaning. Your dad wanted me to give you this. He said it's for you. Only you. Claire took the package carefully, holding it like it was made of glass. She looked at Megan, who nodded. Slowly, with small fingers, she peeled away the tape. Inside was a box. And inside the box, a bundle of letters. Dozens of them. Each one addressed to Claire in her father's handwriting. And on top, a single photograph, Marcus holding Claire as a baby, both of them laughing at something unseen. Claire picked up the first letter. Dear Claire, she read aloud, her small voice trembling. If you're reading this, I'm not there. But I want you to know I never left you. Not really. I'm in every sunrise, every song, every good dream. And one day, when this is all over, I'll find you again. Love, Daddy." Leo looked away, blinking hard. Megan was crying silently. Claire clutched the letters to her chest and smiled. It was the first time Leo had seen her smile. The trial began 6 months later. It was a media circus. Cameras lined the courthouse steps, reporters shouted questions, and the public divided into camps, those who saw Marcus Webb as a monster and those who saw him as a hero. Leo watched from the gallery, squeezed into a wooden bench among strangers. He hadn't spoken to Marcus since that night at the bar. He wasn't sure Marcus even knew he was there. But he had to come. He had to see. The prosecution painted Marcus as an unstable man who fabricated abuse to justify kidnapping. They brought Elena to the stand, and she performed beautifully. Dressed in black, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, she described the horror of coming home to find her daughter gone. She called Marcus a liar, a manipulator, a thief. The courtroom hung on her every word. Then the defense called its first witness. It wasn't Marcus. It was Claire. The room went silent as the 7-year-old walked to the stand. She looked small, dwarfed by the big chair, but her eyes were steady. The defense attorney knelt in front of her. "Claire, can you tell us what happened at home? Before you left with your dad?" Claire nodded. She spoke in a clear, quiet voice. She told them about Richard. About the things he did when her mother wasn't home. About the videos. About the fear. About the night her father found her crying and promised to take her somewhere safe. Elena's face went white. Richard Vance, sitting in the front row, stood up and tried to leave. But police were already waiting at the doors. In the gallery, Leo watched Claire on the stand. She was brave. So brave. And he understood, finally, why Marcus had trusted him. Because sometimes the only thing you can do is trust someone else to carry what you cannot. The trial ended with Marcus Webb acquitted of kidnapping. The charges were dropped, and Richard Vance was arrested on multiple counts related to the abuse. Elena Webb's carefully constructed lies crumbled in the face of her daughter's testimony and the evidence found on Vance's devices. The media frenzy shifted. Overnight, Marcus became a folk hero, the father who risked everything to save his child. But Leo didn't watch the news coverage. He didn't read the articles. He went back to his bar, back to his routine, back to his quiet life. He told himself it was over. He had done his part. He had kept the package safe. He had delivered it when the time was right. Now he could go back to being invisible. A week after the trial ended, Leo was behind the bar when the front door squeaked. He looked up automatically, ready to greet the customer. And there he was. Marcus Webb. He walked to stool 17 and sat down. Same worn jacket. Same tired eyes. Same silence. Leo stared at him for a long moment. Then, without a word, he reached for a glass and poured a double whiskey. "Neat." He set it in front of Marcus. Marcus looked at the glass, then at Leo. For the first time in all those months, he spoke. "Thank you." Leo nodded. He didn't know what to say. He didn't need to. Marcus took a slow sip of the whiskey. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. He slid it across the bar. Leo picked it up. It was Claire, holding the bundle of letters, smiling at the camera. Behind her, sunlight streamed through a window. She looked happy. She looked safe. Leo handed the photo back. "She's beautiful," he said. Marcus nodded, his eyes glistening. "She wanted me to give you something." He reached into his pocket again and pulled out a small envelope. Leo opened it. Inside was a drawing, done in crayon. A bar. A man behind the counter. A man on a stool. Above them, in wobbly letters, "Thank you for keeping my daddy's secret." Leo looked at the drawing for a long time. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. "I'll keep this one too," he said. Marcus smiled. It was the first time Leo had seen him smile. Life returned to a new kind of normal. Marcus came to the bar every Thursday now, but he wasn't silent anymore. He talked. About Claire, about the years on the run, about the fear and the hope and the moments when he almost gave up. Leo listened. That's what he did best. He poured drinks and listened. Months passed. Claire started school. Marcus found work. The media moved on to other stories. But the bond between the two men remained, unspoken but solid. One night, after the bar closed, Marcus stayed behind. He helped Leo wipe down the counters and stack the chairs. When they were done, they stood at the door, looking out at the empty street. "I never asked you," Marcus said quietly. "Why did you help me? You didn't know me. You had nothing to gain." Leo thought about it. He thought about 15 years behind the same bar, serving the same faces, living the same life. He thought about the night he saw the news and felt something shift inside him. He thought about the package under his bed, the letters, the crayon drawing in his pocket. "Because you sat on that stool," Leo said finally. "And you didn't say a word. But I could see you. I could see you were carrying something heavy. And I figured, maybe that's what people are for. To help carry when it gets too heavy." Marcus looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "You're a good man, Leo." Leo shrugged. "I'm just a bartender." Marcus shook his head. "No. You're the man on the other side of the bar. The one who sees." He clapped Leo on the shoulder and walked out into the night. Leo watched him go. Then he locked the door and stood alone in the quiet bar. For the first time in 15 years, he didn't feel invisible. 5 years later, Leo still stood behind the same bar. But everything else had changed. The bar had a new name now, the 17th Stool. Marcus had helped him buy it when the old owner retired. They were partners now, though Marcus mostly handled the books and left the pouring to Leo. Claire was 12. She came by after school sometimes, sitting on stool 17, doing her homework while Leo made her hot chocolate. She had grown tall and confident, her father's tired eyes replaced by something brighter. She still had the letters. She kept them in a box under her bed, and sometimes, on hard days, she read them again. Elena had disappeared from their lives after the trial, too ashamed to face what she had allowed. Richard Vance was in prison, where he belonged. The media never came around anymore. The story was old news. But for Leo, it was still fresh. Every time he saw Claire smile, every time Marcus laughed at something stupid, every time the three of them sat together after closing, eating pizza on the bar and talking about nothing, every time, Leo felt grateful. Grateful for a crumpled piece of paper in a tip jar. Grateful for a phone call at 4 in the morning. Grateful for a trust he hadn't earned but had tried to honor. One night, Claire looked up from her homework and asked a question Leo hadn't expected. "Leo, why didn't you ever open the package? Before you gave it to me?" Leo paused, a glass in his hand. He thought about it. "Because it wasn't mine," he said simply. "Your dad trusted me with something precious. Opening it would have broken that trust." Claire nodded slowly. Then she smiled. "You're like family now," she said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Leo felt his throat tighten. He looked at Marcus, who was watching them both with soft eyes. "Yeah," Leo said. "I guess I am." On a warm summer evening, 15 years after the first Thursday night, Leo stood behind the bar and looked at his life. The 17th stool was full of regulars, their laughter mixing with the clink of glasses and the low hum of conversation. Marcus sat at the end of the bar, reading the newspaper, occasionally looking up to smile at someone. And Claire was behind the bar with Leo, learning to pour a proper drink, her 22-year-old hands steady and sure. She was studying to be a social worker now. She wanted to help children like the one she had been. Leo couldn't have been prouder if she were his own. After closing, they sat together at stool 17, the three of them, sharing a drink and watching the moonlight filter through the windows. Claire reached into her bag and pulled out something familiar. The box. The one Leo had kept under his bed all those years ago. "I brought this tonight," she said. "I wanted to read one. Together." She opened the box and pulled out a letter at random. It was dated years ago, written when she was just a child. She read it aloud, her voice soft. "Dear Claire, today I watched you laugh, and I thought, this is why. This is why we fight. This is why we run. This is why we never give up. Because one day, you'll laugh like that again, and nothing else will matter." She looked up, her eyes shining. Marcus reached for her hand. Leo reached for his glass. In the quiet of the bar, surrounded by ghosts of the past and the warmth of the present, they sat together. Three people brought together by a secret, bound by trust, and held by something stronger than blood. Outside, the city hummed on, oblivious. But inside the 17th stool, three hearts beat as one. And somewhere in the darkness, a man on stool 17 finally found his peace.